Living with Liam had always been a balancing act I didn't know I'd sign up for. From the moment he moved in, everything felt just a little less settled. His energy was unpredictable, loud and carefree one day, quiet and unreadable the next. He had this way of walking around the apartment like it was his personal stage, always a little too confident, a little too bold. And maybe that's what made it harder to ignore him. We weren't close at first. Roommates, mostly. But little things began to shift. He'd leave his bedroom door open when changing. He'd sit close on the couch when we watched something, his knee brushing mine, never apologizing. He'd joke about how cold it was in the apartment, then lounge around in just his underwear, stretching like a cat across the couch while I tried not to notice. I told myself it was harmless, that I was imagining it, that I had Mark, and I had been together for nearly 2 years. Steady, safe. Lately, though, he'd been absent. Work had swallowed his time. Our texts had grown shorter, our calls more infrequent. Conversations felt like check-ins instead of connection. I missed the way his voice used to light up when I answered. I missed being wanted. Liam filled the silence without even trying. He didn't ask personal questions. Not really. But his presence, physical and magnetic, kept pulling my attention. I hated how often I found myself listening for his footsteps, noticing when he came home, feeling a flicker in my chest when he smiled a certain way. It was a Thursday night, late. I just finished cleaning up dinner, and Liam walked out of his room, shirtless, damp towel slung low on his waist. He didn't say anything, just nodded at me and walked into the living room, dropping onto the couch with a sigh. "You watching something?" he asked. I shrugged. "Not really, just flipping." He grabbed the remote and patted the cushion next to him. "Come on, put on something awful and let's hate watch it together." I hesitated, but sat. Distance always started with space on the couch. Then somehow, by the end of the episode, we were always closer than when we started. The show played, but I wasn't watching. The room was dim, just a lamp in the corner casting soft light. Liam's knee brushed mine again. He didn't move. Neither did I. Then, without a word, he reached over and clicked the remote. The screen went black. I turned to look at him, confused, but he was already standing. He walked to the door, flipped the lock, then came back and sat beside me again, closer this time. "Why did you lock the door?" I asked, not sure if I really wanted to know. He smirked, looking straight ahead. "You ever feel like some things don't need explaining?" I didn't answer. My chest felt tight, not from fear. Something else. The air had changed. It was charged, quiet. I could hear my own heartbeat, and it was embarrassingly loud. He leaned back, arms spread along the back of the couch. His skin was still damp from his shower. The scent of his soap was sharp and clean, and I hated how my body responded. I reached for the remote, trying to shift the moment. "Maybe we should—" "Do you ever think about it?" he interrupted, eyes still ahead. "What would it be like if lines were different? If timing was better?" I paused. "Think about what?" He turned his head slowly to face me. His voice dropped, soft and even. "You know." I couldn't look at him. I stared at my hands instead. They were clenched without me realizing. "I have a boyfriend," I said. The words felt thin in the air. He didn't laugh, didn't argue, just nodded slowly, like he understood, like that was part of the calculation. "I know," he said, "but that's never stopped people from feeling things." I swallowed hard. My throat was dry. The silence wrapped around us like a blanket, heavy and unrelenting. "I don't know what you're doing," I whispered. He leaned in, close enough that his breath warmed my cheek. "I'm not doing anything you don't want." I should have stood, should have left the room, should have texted Mark, called him, reminded myself why I'd chosen him. Instead, I sat there, unmoving, waiting for something I didn't want to admit I wanted. The space between us didn't feel like space anymore. It felt like permission. My heart was hammering so loud, I was afraid he could hear it. I didn't move. Neither did he. His hand found mine, not grasping, just resting, fingers touching. His skin was warm, dry, familiar in a way I hadn't expected. I didn't pull away. "We don't have to pretend," he said softly, like it was a secret. "I know you felt it too." My throat tightened. I wanted to lie. I wanted to deny it, to act confused, to deflect. But I couldn't, because he was right. I had felt it. Too many nights, too many moments, too many almosts. And now we were teetering on the edge of one more. "I shouldn't," I said. "I know." He stood again, moving slowly, deliberately. I thought maybe he'd walk away. Instead, he turned back toward me and reached for the waistband of his towel. His eyes never left mine. Then he let it fall. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. He was confident in a way that wasn't about being looked at. It was about being known. It wasn't about shock. It was about certainty. He knew I wouldn't run. He knew I wouldn't look away. He knew what was coming. I should have said something. Should have told him to stop. But instead, I stayed still, frozen in that quiet, impossible moment. He walked back to the couch, not bothering to cover himself, not asking for permission. He sat beside me again, closer than before. Our shoulders touched. I was still staring ahead, too afraid to look, too afraid of what it would mean if I did. "You're allowed to want things," he whispered. "I have someone," I replied, barely audible. "And is he here?" I didn't answer. He placed a hand on my thigh. Not high, not suggestive. Just there, anchoring me. His touch felt calm, not rushed, like he had all the time in the world to wait for me to decide. I turned my head toward him, finally meeting his gaze. His expression wasn't smug or aggressive. It was open, raw, even. I saw no game in his eyes. Just want. Just a quiet, persistent want. He leaned in, slowly, carefully, waiting for me to pull away. I didn't. When our lips met, it wasn't fireworks. It wasn't chaos. It was quiet, like an exhale I'd been holding for weeks. His hand slid to the back of my neck, drawing me in gently. The kiss deepened, slow and unhurried, like neither of us wanted to break whatever spell had pulled us this close. His skin was warm beneath my hands. His breath hitched when I touched his back, traced the line of his spine. I felt every part of him, every reaction, every shift, every quiet sound. I forgot the room, forgot the clock, forgot the phone buzzing behind me on the kitchen counter. I forgot Mark. I let myself fall into the moment completely. It wasn't lust, not just that. It was something lonelier, more vulnerable. It was two people trying to be seen, trying to be touched, trying to feel wanted in the way only someone knew, someone present could offer. When he pulled back, breath heavy, he rested his forehead against mine. We didn't speak. There was nothing to say that wouldn't break whatever fragile thing had formed between us. Then I heard it, my phone vibrating again. A long pause and silence. Then another. He pulled away first, eyes flicking toward the sound. "Is that him?" he asked. I nodded. He didn't say anything else. I stood up slowly, wrapping the throw blanket around my shoulders like it could somehow undo what had just happened. My legs were shaking, but I didn't feel regret. Not yet. I walked to the kitchen, staring at the glowing screen. 2 missed calls. 1 message. "Are you still awake? I miss you. Call me." I turned the screen off without opening it. Behind me, I heard Liam shifting on the couch, pulling on a pair of loose shorts. The moment had ended, but something heavier had taken its place. When I turned around, he was watching me, not with expectation, not with guilt, just stillness. I didn't go back to him. I didn't go to my room either. I just stood there in the dark, unsure of who I was anymore and how far I'd really fallen. The morning came too quickly, heavy and silent. Sunlight streamed through the blinds, painting long stripes across the living room floor. I was still on the couch, wrapped in the same blanket, sleep never really finding me. My body ached, not for what happened, but from what it meant. In the kitchen, I heard quiet sounds. The clink of a mug, the hum of the kettle, footsteps that were too casual for what we'd done. I didn't look up until I smelled coffee. Liam placed a cup on the table in front of me and sat across the room, like any other morning. Nothing in his expression gave anything away. He wasn't smirking, wasn't avoiding my eyes. He just looked normal. I took the coffee. My hands were cold. He didn't say anything. Neither did I. The quiet between us was no longer charged. It was something else now. Something that had already happened and couldn't be undone. I stared into the dark surface of the drink and tried to understand how I felt. I didn't feel proud, but I didn't feel entirely ashamed either. I felt unmoored, like something had shifted beneath me during the night, and I hadn't caught up yet. I pulled my phone from the blanket. Mark had texted again. I hate go to bed without hearing your voice. Let's talk when you wake up. And below that, a photo of his breakfast and a smiling emoji. He had no idea. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I wanted to reply. I wanted to tell him I miss him too. I wanted to pretend last night never happened. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, I locked the phone and set it aside. Liam leaned back in his chair and spoke for the first time since waking. I'm not asking for anything, he said. I looked up. I know what it was. I know what it wasn't. There was something almost kind in his tone. Not indifferent, just honest. I nodded. I know. He stood up, carried his mug to the sink, and rinsed it without another word. When he left the kitchen, he didn't glance back. The door to his room clicked shut, and I was alone again. I stayed in that silence for a long time. Long enough to feel the weight of everything I hadn't said. Long enough to realize there would be no clean way out. Later that afternoon, Mark called again. I picked up this time. Hey, I said, trying to keep my voice from cracking. Finally, he sighed, relieved. You okay? Yeah, just didn't sleep well. There was a pause. I've been thinking, he said. About us. My stomach tightened. Yeah, I want to come see you. Soon. I know it's been hard with work and everything, but I don't want the distance to grow anymore. I closed my eyes. I miss you, Jesse. I don't want to lose what we have. He sounded sincere, like someone who had just remembered how much something mattered to him. And maybe that was the worst part, because I believed him. I miss you too, I said, the lie only half a lie. After we hung up, I sat on the edge of bed and stared at the floor. I thought about last night, about Liam's hand in mine, about the way he looked at me without demanding anything. I thought about the way my name sounded in Mark's voice. I didn't know if what happened was a mistake or just a symptom, maybe both. What I knew without question was that something inside me had changed, not because of Liam, but because I'd let it. That night wasn't about love. It wasn't even about lust. It was about absence. About what you reach for when you're tired of reaching alone. I didn't tell Mark. Not that day. Not the day after. I don't know if I ever will. Sometimes, the worst betrayals don't come with confession. Sometimes they live in silence. In quiet mornings. In the way you avoid someone's eyes across a kitchen. In the way you answer, I miss you, with a smile you don't mean. And sometimes, they sleep beside you with the door locked and the lights off, never saying a word, just breathing